G'day everybody, welcome to Automotive Carnage. My name's DJ and thank you so much for joining us on this episode. Today we are out in the field and as you can see we've got all the Carnage cars behind us here that we use for our paddock bashing. But there's one in particular that we are going to be working on today, and that is the one that hit the massive rock. What the actual words I can't say on YouTube? Dash! This is my 1999 Toyota Camry Demolition Derby car. This car was entered into the Perth Motorplex Demolition Derby on April 1st last year, and we won in this exact car. We were also the only car to drive off the field. It was absolutely an amazing time, had a lot of fun, and I have to thank Byron from Down the Shed from Byron for building me an absolutely tough car. And because it's so tough, we are able to take it on another Demolition Derby. And we are entered into the Mount Barker Derby on the 27th of April. And we are going to go have some fun. There's $10,000 worth of prize money up for grabs. And Byron and I are putting together a team and we're just going to absolutely dominate. So far we know about 25 cars that are going to be there. It's not going to be the traditional arena style. It's going to be the oval track. So we can have a little bit more racing and banging around, which is going to be absolutely awesome. So I mentioned that this time we saw this car, it was smacked into a rock, and our dear mate Dazza got a little bit overzealous last time he was out here and got sunstruck, and yeah, he ended up flying a massive rock out in the field that was, to be honest, nowhere near the track. Now luckily he's okay. He does have a few cracked ribs though, unfortunately, but he's doing fine and he is absolute champ. He knows that racing's racing and unfortunately bad stuff happens. So he's doing good, which is awesome. You're a top bloke, that's for sure. But now I gotta fix what you've done. And so today we're gonna pull all this out, try straighten out this bottom panel, which we've done once before from the last Demolition Derby. And then under here, look at that, the gas struts even work still on this bonnet, it's fantastic. You can see that radiator that I jury rigged into there is on the wrong angle, and down the bottom, you probably can't see it, but where the bottom hose goes in, it's all cracked and split open. So what do you want? You're the wrong kind of horsepower, get out of here. So yeah, first thing we'll do is we'll get this up to our tree straightener, strap it to the tree, drive away. Hopefully we can pull a lot of this out, and then we'll go to the mate's place down the road and go see what kind of radiator we can find to replace it. Okay, so obviously that didn't work. The strap wasn't strong enough to pull that big chunk of steel out. So, change of tact. What I've noticed here is that the radiator is all kinked and smashed in on this side, but over this side there's all this room for activities. So what I'm thinking is we pull out this radiator and then go shopping at my mate's wreckers just down the road here, and see if we can find one like those little half Honda radiators that will fit in between this space, and then just make up some custom mounts like we have here, and do the job that way. Again, we're not going for optimum cooling. All we need is this car to last a couple of laps and have a few hits. So that's what I think we'll do. So we'll pull this into the shed, get that radiator out, and then yeah, let's go shopping for a new one. Alright folks, we are back from my mate's place after our little shopping expedition, and we have found what I believe to be one of the jankiest radiator systems I have ever designed. And the main component is this. We found this beautiful little radiator, and when I say little, I mean little. This has come out of an early 80s Suzuki Swift, or some early 80s, late 70s Suzuki. Perfect size to fit down in our hole here. What's cool too is it's old school metal tanks, or brass tanks, whatever you want to call it. I'm not sure what material it is, but it's hearty and it's not plastic. The tubes are not cracked or pinholes that I can see so far, And as you can see, it fits in there beautifully. Now, we've got to go from here over to here. So that's a pretty straight shot across there, which is fantastic. Where it gets complicated is the bottom. So we have to go from here all the way past the exhaust up to here. So to do that, oh, and then also this is a bigger diameter than that pipe down there. So what we have is we went to our local hardware store and they had this fantastically long bit of radiator hose, which is the perfect diameter to fit down on there. So then we just have to snake that way. I would like to come in front of the exhaust, but we might have to weave it up behind the exhaust. And then we've got to get it up onto here. Now, how do we connect the fat hose to the little hose, you ask? Well, it's a local hardware shop in the farming industry. So we have irrigation piping. And that is going to be our joiner between the skinny hose and the big hose. Now, if we come under the radiator, which is the best path, so if we come under the exhaust, that's not the radiator, under the exhaust, which is the clearest path, that will end up sitting about there. And it's a little too close to the exhaust for my liking. Now, this is made out of what feels like the same plastic as modern day radiator cap, your radiator tanks. But I don't really want it that close to a heat source. I would prefer it to be out down here somewhere. But then if we do that, this hose is kinked down this end. So I'm going to do a little bit of playing around, a little bit of experimenting. We might even pull these aircon lines off, flip this so it's pointing out this way, and that might help our doing a U-turn through here as well. So now it's just time to play and build the jankiest radiator system we've ever seen. Radiator in the Toyota Camry has been completed. So we'll start at the top here. We've got our top radiator hose, which is pretty much just straight through. It is a bit short, but hopefully our clamps will be able to hold that in place and it won't pop off. But a few laps off the track we'll find that out. Still need to flush out the radiator. We still need to put obviously hose clamps and everything. This is kind of just a dummy fit. Anyway, coming down the bottom here, we've got our bottom hose and it's got a nice curve. Now you wonder, how did you get such a curve? Well, it's called copper pipe. So inside, pretty much all of that is copper pipe, which I've bent to that shape, and that's just the stock, because that hose was kinking. It was kinking every time I put a bend in it. It won't bend on a nice arc. As you can see, it has a little bit kinked here. So I ended up putting the brass pipe inside it, or the copper pipe, sorry, inside, to help give it some shape and stop it from creasing at the corners like that. So anyway, you come along and you come up to our size reducer, size increaser, whichever way you want to look at it. And we've got all of this far enough away from the exhaust that I am quite happy with that. So yeah, hose clamps onto there. And then we've got a nice little elbow. I thought by flipping this, coming out this way, it might help, but it actually made it a lot more awkward. So back to the original position, and we've got this nice elbow in here now. So yeah, we'll flush this radiator out properly. We'll hose clamp everything up, put the battery on charge, and yeah, we'll take it for a few test laps. Alrighty folks, as you can see in here, I'm out in the paddock now, just doing a bit of a shakedown with this new radiator system. And there's cables there I need to tie up there in the way of the accelerator. And it's going good. We're sitting nice at halfway. We've just been potting around, nothing too strenuous, done a couple of pulls just to see how it handles it. Everything under the engine bay is looking relatively dry. It looks like there might be a small pinprick in one of the tubes on the new radiator, but besides that, she's fine. Still got a bit of a misfire, but I'm not going to be too worried about fixing that. Sounds like I got a ghost cam anyway, so sounds alright. But the next thing that I really want to fix is right here in front of me. You see this bar here? It's right in my line of sight, and it's very, very irritating to look around. So we'll head back into the shed now, and we'll see if we can chop that out without taking too much of the mesh away. We've got the horse excited. Oh, shit! We've got the horse, we're looking at the horse. Alright, we'll see you guys back in the shed, it's a bit quieter. Okay, cruising back to the shed, and the temperature started to spike. And so something's not right here. What is going on? Ah, okay. So we've boiled it all. Why? Why have we boiled? So it's coming out the overflow hose here, down there. But everything we've done looks dry. I think it might be a case of our radiator just can't handle it. What's it? Ah, here we go. Our radiator, I think, cap has blown. Alright, so that's okay. We'll get another cap and test it again. In the meantime though, let's get it up back onto the concrete and yeah, get that bar there out. Alright folks, let's give you an update as to where we are. Now, we got the jankiest radiator system put into the Camry and took it for a quick lap around the paddock just to test it all out, make sure it wasn't overheating and that the system was up to scratch. The radiator cap was rusted out, so I had to get a new one of those. Took it out for another drive and noticed there's a slight knocking coming from the front of the car. So yeah, it turns out the wheel studs weren't tightened properly, or the wheel nuts weren't tightened properly, and the studs are now flogged out and the wheel's flogged out. So yay, just when we're almost done, more work. But that's okay because it was all done off camera and that front hub now is back together. Shot down to Byron's place, he had some spare wheel studs. They were off a Kia, they were too small, so they ended up being welded in. So we replaced 3 of them and that is now good to go. Our next job, as you can see, the car is up in the air and pretty much my brakes are a bit squishy. So I just wanted to bleed them and try to get a little bit of feel back. We don't need too much, but you know, you don't want that feeling of no brakes and nothing when you put your foot down in a situation. And for those who have watched my other demolition derby video, you may remember that this car is missing one of its brakes. So when I picked this up, this whole bottom was just completely grated away. The disc rotor and everything was just demolished. So I ripped it all off, crimped over the brake line, and yeah, she's good to go. So we'll get those wheels back on, we'll bleed the front brakes, and then we'll head back out into the paddock. We'll put on full gear because I want to drive this car as much as possible with the helmet on and the donut on, just so I get familiar with it, so it's not just to ease the nerves on the actual day of race itself. So I'm going to get cracking onto that. Next you'll see is us having fun in the paddock. Okay folks, here we are out in the paddock. So we've bled the brakes up and we still have no brakes on the pedal. They feel amazing when the car's turned off. They feel nice and stiff, but as soon as you get that vacuum to the booster, they just go spongy and there's like nothing there. So that's all right. Anyway, the only reason I'm putting the helmet on, so we'll put the helmet on, we'll put the donut on, and that's just so I can get a feel for, excuse me, I'll move this microphone up to here, so I can get a feel for what it's going to be like driving this thing, just so it removes those nerves of putting on full race gear and going out into the arena. Whereas if I've got just a little bit of practice with it on already, it won't be such a scary situation. So we have hubs are all together, all the wheel nuts are up nice and tight. We have what you would call brakes, I guess, something there. We've bled the clutch as well. We can't get that to be any better than what it is, so this car really is demo derby spec, that is for sure. So let's just go for a couple of laps and see what happens. I'm sorry I've only got the one camera angle. Let's see what happens. See, clutch is stuck. So if you quick change on the clutch, or do a quick shift I should say, it's not too happy. I've got no brakes. I must have a leak in the line somewhere. There's absolutely nothing there. If I step on him hard, yeah, I can get a little bit of an angle, but not a terrible amount. I mean, not a good amount I should say. Whoa! Hey! See, if I'm heading towards the concrete wall, those brakes aren't going to do jack all. So I'm going to have to learn to steer this thing and hopefully swing that arse end around as opposed to using the brakes itself, which is going to be hard because I've got no handbrake either. I also noticed when we were pouring fresh fluid in, it was going in and it was going straight back out again, but I'm not too sure from where. All the bleed nipples were giving me a nice constant flow, so there's no air in the system. And then in the reservoir, it drops down to a certain level, and then it just sits there. So, oh, they're actually going to turn itself off. So I don't know what's going on. But anyway, that was relatively, I don't know if that was a good result or not. I still need to play with those brakes. Let me get this helmet off so I can talk to you properly. So yeah, it's not the best result. The car operates fine, like it goes forward, no dramas. That clutch is a pain. I think now I'm just being too pedantic. Let's just make sure that there's no super bad leaks in the brake system, and then job done. Let's go race. So April 27th, so this weekend, Saturday down at Mount Barker. It is a daytime race. I don't know what time we're actually on, but all said and done, the racing will be finished by like 5 o'clock, they reckon. So if you want to come for the journey, come on down, say g'day. Otherwise, we'll catch you guys at the speedway. See you later.